Good afternoon. What brings us here together is our love for children, and I feel honored to be speaking with you today. There are many CASAs like me serving our community, many who have served a lot longer than I have. I've heard testimonies that span 10 to 15 years, and I applaud them. I'm proud to say I've been a CASA volunteer for almost 2 years now, and I thought I'd start by telling you how I became involved. About 2.5 years ago, I found myself retired from my full-time career and looking for something meaningful to do with my time. Sure, I had family obligations, including care for my elderly mother, who actually will be 98 in January. I try to see my grandkids often so that I can have an impact on their lives. I have a friend, Judy, who lives in Montana. Judy is a professional forester, and there is nothing she cannot do. Over one phone conversation, she told me that she had become involved with a national organization called CASA. I had never heard of it before. She explained that it involved helping children in her community who were placed in foster care. She was going through about 30 hours of training, and in fact, one of her trainers was a woman named Cindy Miller, just like me. True. So that was my first touch. Then I was watching the game show Jeopardy one afternoon. One contestant was introduced as a professional volunteer with an organization called CASA, Touch Number 2. A few weeks later, while watching the news on KSDK, there was a segment highlighting Voices for Children and the CASA program here in St. Louis, Touch 3. At that point, I just said aloud, okay, I get it. I get the message. After speaking with my husband, I submitted my application with Voices. I was called for an interview and started my training with the next available class. When I finished, I wanted to put into practice the training I had just completed. I couldn't wait for my first case, and I got one quickly. I'll call my kiddo Stephen, not his real name. He will soon have his 13th birthday. Usually I get further along than this. I remember the first time I met Stephen over 1.5 years ago. It was at the first of the 2 residential facilities where he's been placed. I have lived in St. Louis for over 20 years now and never knew that we have the network of residential facilities for children that we do. It's one of the many things that most people don't know about the child welfare world, that foster care doesn't always involve a foster family, because there simply aren't enough. During that first meeting with Stephen, conversation was strained, but it was the start of a close relationship. I asked him what candy he liked, and he replied, anything Hershey. Now, every time I see him, I pull something Hershey out of my purse, and conversations are no longer difficult. I don't think Stephen realized for a long time that I am a volunteer. But several meetings and court dates later, he learned I am the one constant in the room, and I am the only one who's not there for him just because it's my job. He knows I care, partly because I'm always telling him that, but I also show him I care through my actions. I'm the one person who makes every meeting, and I come in person when his family members and the professionals on his team often participate by phone. You see, I have only one case, not 80 like the professionals on his team. As I already mentioned, he is at his 2nd residential facility. He's on his 4th caseworker. I understand that even the judge will rotate off. And I'm not even mentioning the parade of people who have come in and out of his life, from caregivers to doctors, from therapists to teachers. I am now the one with the institutional memory on Stephen's case. I can tell you who's who in his life, what we've already tried, what's worked, and what hasn't. Most importantly, I now have a trusting relationship with Stephen and can speak up for what I believe will be in his best interest. There is a huge difference between being a mentor and being an advocate. However, having said that, it is important to build a relationship of trust and confidence. So occasionally I take Stephen on outings so we can spend some time having fun together. I decided I'd take him to a Cardinals baseball game. It's his favorite sport. I purchased 2 tickets for an afternoon game when we were playing the Minnesota Twins. If you were in St. Louis last spring, you probably remember that it was one wet period. Well, the day of the game, it was predicted to rain most of the day. I checked my email mid-morning, and a Voices board member had donated tickets for that day and in a covered section. I got on the phone quickly and was encouraged to take the donated seats instead of the ones I had purchased. I picked up the tickets, and then I headed to pick up my kiddo. We found our seats, and then we went to get lunch. We did the whole thing, from lunch, soda, and nachos to ice cream later in the game. We were having an extremely good time. The seats were terrific, especially when you consider that we went through 2 rain delays and didn't have to move an inch from being wet. When the second rain delay happened, I was ready to leave, but Stephen wanted to stay, so we did. Top of the 9th, Twins are up, foul ball right to my kiddo. You should have seen how happy he was. As we left the park, he asked me what was my favorite part of the day. I replied, of course, when he caught the foul ball. He quickly replied, yeah, that was mine too. The whole way back to his residential facility, he played with that ball, rubbing the stitching and admiring it. That day, we made a memory that I think we'll both always treasure. As I said before, my role is not to be his mentor, but shared experiences like this give us a history that lets him know he can tell me anything. And he does tell me anything. I'll share with you one thing he told me recently that broke my heart. A while back, Stephen and I were talking about the way we deal with our feelings. I told him sometimes I get angry too. When I get angry, I sit in my car with the windows up, and I yell and I scream, and I say anything I need to say just to get it out. And then I'm done, and I can move on. He recently shared with me that he had written a letter to his mom. He said he wrote the letter to get his feelings out, to say all the things he needed to say to his mom, who continues to let him down. That letter said things no child should be made to feel toward their mother. But the worst part was how he signed it. I'm paraphrasing and omitting the profanity, but he basically said this letter was from her stupid, worthless, ignorant son. Wow, stupid, worthless, ignorant? That's what he had learned was his value to her. I was blown away, speechless for a moment, but I pulled myself together and told him the only thing I could think to say. You know I'm a volunteer, I said. I don't have to be here, but I know I'm not here wasting my time on a stupid, ignorant, worthless kid. Although I would love to tell you that Stephen's case has an end in sight, we're just not there yet. Our goal is reunification with his family, but his mom is struggling and she may run out of time to fix things, and I can't fix that. But in addition to being a constant present for Stephen during these uncertain times, I can tell you we've made tremendous progress in getting him what he needs while he remains in foster care. It took 9 long months of me being the squeaky wheel, but finally, late last year, we were approved for an IEP at his school. An IEP is an individualized educational program that will help accommodate his learning disabilities and behavior needs in the classroom. I am proud to report that he is now behaving much better in school and his grades are improving. I've also been monitoring Stephen's therapy and the slew of medications he has been prescribed for his multiple diagnoses. Kids in foster care are notoriously over-medicated, and one thing CASA volunteers can do is ask questions and make sure every medication a child is taking is for a good and up-to-date reason. Now his meds for the most part are stabilized, and our goal is to reduce one of his stronger meds until we wean him off of it completely. Just recently, he started to sleep better, I think in large part due to these adjustments, which also helps him in school. And Stephen is doing his part. People say volunteers are heroes, but I think these kids are the heroes. Many, like Stephen, have been made to feel that they are nothing more than an ignorant, stupid kid in the eyes of the adults who are supposed to nurture and adore them. Other children are in care because they have been placed in unsafe living situations. To not completely give up is a testament to the ability of children to bounce back. We see it every day. They have been mistreated, but they rise above. I'm just here to witness that and to help one child at a time get to the other side. It doesn't take a hero to walk with a child on this journey, just ordinary people like you and me who can be there and make an extraordinary difference. Thank you.